The War Council chamber fell silent as Commander Vesh slammed 3 of his appendages against the tactical display. 9,900 warships. The entire Kallax Dominion fleet, gathered in one magnificent armada that stretched across half a parsec of space. And their target? One pathetic blue marble spinning lazily around an unremarkable yellow star. Earth. They don't even have proper shielding, Vesh announced, his voice dripping with contempt as he gestured at the holographic projection. Their fastest vessels barely break light speed. Their weapons are, what did the scouts call them? Kinetic projectiles? Chemical explosives? Laughter rippled through the assembled officers. Subcommander Trell, a veteran of 40 conquered worlds, clicked his mandibles in amusement. I've seen cargo haulers with better defenses, sir. Exactly. Vesh circled the display, his confidence radiating like heat from a dying star. Intelligence reports indicate they've only recently achieved basic fusion reactors. They still burn compressed organic matter for energy. Can you imagine? More laughter. General Crix, whose scales gleamed under the chamber lights, raised a foreclaw. Commander, if I may ask, why are we committing our entire fleet to this operation? Surely a dozen battlecruisers would suffice. Vesh's expression hardened. The High Council wants a statement, Crix. Humanity has been broadcasting radio signals into the void for decades. They've been shouting their existence to anyone listening. The Council has decided that such arrogance requires correction. Total annihilation. No survivors. No warnings. We jump in, we glass the planet, we jump out. Simple. And their military response. What military response? Vesh pulled up another display showing Earth's satellite network. They have approximately 12,000 combat aircraft. Primitive rockets. Some orbital stations. Their entire nuclear arsenal couldn't scratch the hull of a single destroyer. This isn't a battle, Crix. It's an extermination. We'll be home before the second moon rises. The fleet moved into position at the edge of the Sol system. 9,900 ships, each one a masterpiece of Kallax engineering, each one capable of reducing a continent to molten slag. Vesh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Endless Triumph, watching the blue planet grow larger in the viewscreen. All ships report ready, Commander, reported Navigation Officer Prex. Excellent. Begin the approach. Weapons hot. I want this over quickly. The Armada surged forward, confident and unstoppable. That's when the humans said hello. The first indication something was wrong came when Vesh's sensor officer started making a noise that roughly translated to confused screaming. Commander. Energy signatures. Massive energy signatures appearing throughout the system. What? Where? Everywhere. Behind the 4th planet, inside the asteroid belt, near their moon, I'm reading. Sir, I'm reading weapons platforms. Hundreds of them. How did we miss these? Vesh's blood went cold. Stealth technology? Impossible. They barely have computers. The view screen lit up as the first human defense platform opened fire. Except it wasn't a primitive kinetic weapon. It was a directed energy beam that punched through the shields of the destroyer Relentless Glory like they were made of tissue paper. The ship didn't explode. It simply stopped existing, converted to superheated plasma in less than a heartbeat. Evasive maneuvers. Vesh screamed, but the words felt hollow in his throat. More beams. More impossible weapons. Railguns that accelerated projectiles to 90% light speed. Missile systems that tracked with impossible precision. And then, emerging from behind Earth's moon, came the ships. Human ships. Not primitive rockets. Not chemical thrusters. These were sleek warships that moved with predatory grace, their hulls crackling with energy shielding that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist, not in a species this young. They were waiting, whispered Trell, his earlier confidence evaporated. They knew we were coming. They wanted us to come. The battle, if you could call it that, lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of absolute carnage. The humans didn't just fight, they hunted. Their ships moved in coordinated packs, targeting command vessels, cutting through formations with surgical precision. Their weapons were decades beyond what intelligence had reported. Their tactics were flawless. Vesh watched his magnificent armada die. Ship after ship, destroyed or crippled. The endless triumph shuddered as human fighters, impossible little craft that danced between weapons fire like they were playing a game, peppered her hull with armor-piercing rounds. Commander. Prex's voice cracked with terror. We've lost 70% of the fleet. We need to retreat. Retreat. To where? Vesh stared at the tactical display, now painted red with destroyed Kallax vessels. They're everywhere. A human voice crackled over the communication systems, speaking perfect Kallax standard dialect. Kallax ships. This is Admiral Rebecca Hwang of the Earth Defense Force. You came to our home uninvited. You came with murder in your hearts. Did you really think we'd just roll over and die? Did you think we got this far by being easy prey? The voice paused, and Vesh could swear he heard amusement in it. We've been listening to the galaxy for a long time, friends. We know what's out there. We know what you do to species you consider inferior. So we prepared. We built. We waited. And you brought your entire fleet right to our doorstep. Thank you for that, by the way. Human ships closed in from all sides. Vesh's claws trembled against the command console as Admiral Hwang's voice continued to echo through the bridge. Around him, officers who had been joking about primitive humans mere hours ago now cowered at their stations, watching the tactical display light up with more human contacts than should have been possible. All remaining ships, initiate emergency jump protocols, Vesh barked, his voice barely steady. Scatter formation, random vectors, jump on my mark. Sir, the jump drives are showing interference. Prex frantically worked his console. They're broadcasting some kind of gravitational disruption field across the entire sector. We can't achieve stable warp. Impossible. The technology required for that kind of field manipulation was theoretical even for the Kallax. These humans, these backwards apes who supposedly discovered fire only moments ago in galactic terms, were using weapons that shouldn't exist. A human fighter screamed past the viewscreen, close enough that Vesh could see the pilot inside. The human waved. Actually waved at him before banking hard and launching a spread of missiles that tore through 3 Kallax destroyers like they were constructed from wet paper. They're toying with us, General Crix muttered from his station, his scales now dull with fear. They could have destroyed us all in the first volley, but they're making a point. The communication channel crackled again. You're absolutely right, General. Admiral Hwang's voice carried that same terrifying calm. We could have vaporized your entire fleet before you crossed the orbit of Jupiter. Our long-range weapons have had you targeted since you entered the system. But where's the lesson in that? Vesh felt his 3 hearts skip in synchronized horror. She was listening to their internal communications. These humans had cracked Kallax military encryption like it was a child's puzzle. You see, Commander Vesh, we needed you to see this. Really see it. Because when you limp home, assuming we let any of you leave, we need you to tell everyone exactly what happened here. We need the galaxy to know that Earth isn't some helpless target. We're the species that evolved on a death world. Gravity twice what most of you consider comfortable. Predators on every continent. Diseases that would devastate your populations. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We conquered our own planet before we even looked to the stars. Another wave of human ships emerged from stealth, these ones larger, battlecruisers that made the endless triumph look like a pleasure yacht. Their weapons ports glowed with barely contained energy. Sir, the weapons officer shouted. I'm counting 1,700 human capital ship. Plus another 3,000 support vessels. And that's just what we can see. How is this possible? They barely had a space program 50 years ago. Vesh laughed, a bitter sound that bubbled up from somewhere dark. They lied. All of it. The primitive broadcasts, the chemical rockets, all of it was bait. We weren't invading them. We were walking into their trap. Clever boy, Hwang confirmed. Took you long enough. Yes, we've had proper spaceflight for nearly a century. We've had fusion for longer. We've been mining the asteroid belt, building shipyards on Mars, establishing colonies throughout the system. But we kept broadcasting those adorable little radio shows, kept launching those quaint chemical rockets where you could see them. You weren't our first visitors, Vesh. You're just the first ones stupid enough to bring your entire fleet. The human battlecruisers opened fire, not at the Kallax ships, but around them, creating a cage of energy that trapped what remained of the Armada. Vesh counted the surviving vessels on his display. 342. From 9,900. Now here's what happens next, Hwang continued. You're going to limp back to Kallax space in whatever ships we allow to leave. You're going to tell the High Council exactly what you found here. And you're going to make sure every species in the Dominion knows that Earth is off limits. Forever. Because if we see another hostile fleet in our system, we won't be this merciful. Merciful? Vesh spat the word. You murdered thousands. You came to commit genocide, Commander. Don't talk to me about murder. You should be grateful we're letting anyone leave alive. Consider it a demonstration of human restraint. Something you clearly lack. The energy cage began to constrict, forcing the Kallax ships into tighter formation. Human vessels surrounded them on all sides, weapons charged and ready. Vesh realized with sick certainty that Hwang was right. They were completely and utterly at her mercy. 17 ships, Hwang announced. That's how many I'm letting go. 17, because that's my lucky number. The rest of your fleet will be salvaged. We'll use the materials to build more defenses, more ships, more weapons. You're literally going to fuel the expansion of human military power. Poetic, don't you think? Vesh looked at his senior officers, saw the same broken defeat in their eyes. Which 17? Already decided. Check your tactical display. Green markers appeared on 17 vessels scattered throughout the formation. The Endless Triumph was one of them. Of course it was. Hwang wanted him alive to deliver her message. You have 10 minutes to transfer all surviving crew to those ships. Anyone left on the others when time expires stays with their vessel. We'll treat prisoners according to our conventions. They'll live. They'll just be guests for a while. The next 10 minutes were chaos. Crew members scrambled through airlocks, abandoning ships that had been their homes, leaving behind comrades too injured to move. Vesh stayed on his bridge, watching the countdown timer with numb detachment. When it hit 0, the human ships opened fire again. Not destructive fire, but precision strikes that disabled engines, weapons, life support systems. The Kallax vessels went dark, lifeless hulks ready for salvage. 17 ships, you're cleared for departure. Jump drives are your own problem once you're beyond the orbital plane of Neptune. Head straight out, don't deviate. Any course change will be interpreted as hostile action. And Vesh? What? Tell them we'll be visiting soon. Humanity is done hiding. The galaxy has a new player, and we don't play nice with bullies. Safe travels, Commander. The energy cage dissolved. Vesh ordered the retreat, and the 17 surviving ships limped away from Earth, leaving behind the shattered remnants of the greatest armada the Kallax Dominion had ever assembled. As Earth shrank in the viewscreen, Vesh realized the horrible truth. The humans hadn't just won a battle. They'd announced themselves to the galaxy in the most terrifying way possible. 9,900 ships had attacked their homeworld. Only 17 escaped. And everyone would know humanity had allowed it.